Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. And I'm really psyched because Joe Biden's going to be in trouble. Hunter Biden's going to be in trouble. Clinton's going to be in trouble because my friend Dan Bongino is going to the FBI. This is amazing news, you guys. Dan, I don't know if you've ever caught his podcast. He's got a great show. I've known him for many, many years. He's salt of the earth. He is just a wonderful person. He has built an enormous following on that podcast, sort of single-handedly. It's just amazing what he's created. And he is a true patriot. I mean that, a true patriot. And I'm telling you, he's given up a lot. I mean, I was sort of surprised because he's got a big show with a really, really big following. But he's heading straight to the FBI. So he's going to be joining Kash Patel at the FBI as his deputy. And this is important. We'll talk about it. It's important for Kash to have somebody he can trust. And you can trust, anybody can trust Dan. Let me tell you, Dan is enormously trustworthy, a wonderful person, and he's going to do an amazing job. Here he is on his own program this morning talking about it.
Again, regarding the show, folks, going forward, I will tell you how we're going to wind my portion of the show down. And I'm just going to leave you with this before I get to some other content, and we've got a couple more. We've got some shows for you lined up, so I actually put a show together, even though this has been harder than I thought.
Yeah, it's hard for him. It's taken him a minute. It's all real, you guys. Totally real.
I didn't plan on this. I didn't plan on a lot of things. But I want you to know it is the honor of my lifetime. And I hope I'm making a plea to you all personally. I hope you're not angry or upset at me for making this decision. Mm-hmm. I knew it was the right thing to do, but there is a big cost, and I understand that. There's a chance when the mission's over that you guys all disappear and go somewhere else. I'm not going to lie to you, it's been on my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
I hope not. I love you guys, but this is a mission I can't say no to.
Yeah. He's such a good guy, you guys. He's going to be great. I know it's hard for him because, you know, he does this show every single day. He didn't even take a vacation for the first 2 years.
Sorry, guys.
I'm so proud of him. And I know he's going to kill it. And you know what? The audience will be there. I know if you guys watch him now, you're going to watch him when he comes back. He's going to come back bigger than ever. I said to him this morning, I am so happy that you're going there because it makes me feel good as an American that Dan Bongino is going to be there by Kash's side. You know, it's hard because like everybody wants to take Kash down. You know, the knives are out and you need somebody who can help be your eyes and ears and cut through the BS. And you don't want a repeat, shall we say, of what Trump went through in 2016. And that's the danger you run. Like Kash Patel goes into the FBI, all the FBI agents flip out and make his life HELL, much like they did in 2016 for Donald Trump. So in order to get real stuff accomplished, you got to have real people in there and you got to have people you trust. And Dan is one of those guys. So it's just amazing news. I'm so thrilled for Dan. I'm thrilled for Kash. I'm thrilled for America, which is exactly what I said to Dan this morning. I mean, it's so, so good. You know who may not be so thrilled with this? Dun-dun-dun, Hillary Clinton. You know, Dan used to actually be her Secret Service detail. Yeah, that's an old photo of Dan Bongino back in the day when she was Secretary of State. I think there's some investigations that need to happen. And I'm going to go back to Russia. Because let's not forget, everyone, they tried to convince America that the Russians had video evidence, a tape of Donald Trump, I'm not going to say it, okay, doing really, really inappropriate things in a hotel room in Moscow. The whole thing was made up. But they used this in order to get a FISA warrant so that they could tap Carter Page, who was working for Donald Trump's campaign there in Trump Tower, and learn everything that the campaign was doing. all under this false pretense that somehow Donald Trump was a Russian asset. But that was all built on a whole stack of lies. It was opposition research. So what had gone down was way back in the day, apparently some never-Trumpers commissioned some opposition research. And they went to Christopher Steele, who's an ex-Russia spy. He's like, British spy on Russia and used to run like the bureau there in Moscow. And they figured, okay, well, maybe he can drum up some stuff. But they weren't able to come up with anything. So they just started making it up. And then it turned out that those never-Trumpers, maybe they turned around, they decided they liked Trump. And so there was this fiction out there on the marketplace that nobody was picking up. So they took it to Hillary Clinton's campaign. And how this went down was Perkins Coie, the law firm that was representing Hillary Clinton, then went over to Fusion GPS, the company that did the research. That was the company, by the way, filled with, I guess, some former investigative reporters from the Wall Street Journal that were now, hitmen for hire, if you ask me. Fusion GPS went out and contracted Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele went out and got some people, including somebody who the U.S. actually believed to be a Russian spy, believe it or not. I mean, you can't make it up. And then they concocted this dirty dossier, which led to the FISA warrant. Like, how is that legal? I mean, here we are saying, maybe the virus came from Wuhan, China. And they're like, oh, don't talk about that. All right, you can't talk about that. Nope. That's over. Or, maybe that Hunter Biden laptop actually really is Hunter's laptop. Oh, New York Post, you lose your Twitter account. Off with your head, right? Like, they were shutting stuff down left and right. But somehow this thing got oxygen. So Dan knows this inside and out. He knows every little last angle. And he's going to get to the bottom of that. So Hillary Clinton, watch out. I would also recommend that Hillary Clinton watch out for other reasons, which I'm going to get to. But first, think about what it did to the country, for goodness sakes. I mean, how much did we have to hear about how he wasn't really the president? Hillary should have been the president. The Russians stole the election. The Russians, Russia. Enough, right?
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put in office because the Russians interfered.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see the president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is illegitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes.
So that was a very tainted election. And in that sense, it's illegitimate.
That's what they tried to do. Okay, so now Donald Trump is coming back in, and he's like, okay, we're not going there again. This is a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different scene. And he's got Kash Patel and Dan Bongino heading up the FBI. And guess what? They're not only going to look at Russia, but Dan Bongino is very familiar, as is Kash, with something called CGI, Clinton Global Initiative. Peter Schweizer did a ton of reporting on this. He actually came out with a book called Clinton Cash, and it alleges that there was this pay-to-play scheme in which CGI, the Clinton Foundation, was created to go around the world and help all these emerging market countries. But in exchange, these emerging market countries who had zillionaires in them, well, zillionaires, you know what I mean, billionaires, millionaires, whatever, they had to pay sort of a fee for entry. Now, it really ratcheted up between 2009 and 2013 while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Now think about this. It shouldn't have happened, right? Because didn't Obama have all these rules? He was so annoyed. It's why Hunter Biden apparently never registered as a foreign lobbyist, even though he was getting money from Romania and from Ukraine and from China and anywhere else he could. Because Obama was like, no, I don't want anybody's family doing this. But there was a special exception made for the Clinton Global Initiative, CGI. Now, as a reporter, I would go to these things, all right? And I interviewed Clinton at one of them, and I was always struck by the number of, say, random, like, Nigerian billionaires getting their picture with Bill Clinton. I worked at Bloomberg Television at the time, and then they'd be like, hey, we want you to have this Nigerian billionaire on television. And I'm like, nobody understands what he says. Like, we're going to need subtitles or something. No, nobody cared. Nobody cared. Because I suspect, and I don't know this for sure, but there was some kind of thing going on, right? You pay into the foundation has this relationship with certain media, and then all of a sudden, you get your picture. This guy in particular had his picture in the New York Times with Clinton, and then you get to go on television and do this, that, and the other. So this is what, again, I have no proof, and Peter's been criticized for this reporting, I'll tell you that, but he's alleging that they were giving favorable treatment. It goes on to talk about the Uranium One deal. So Uranium One, a lot of the uranium was coming from the U.S., and they had operations in the U.S., and there was this Russian company, Rosatom, that wanted to buy it. And so in order for that merger to go through, it would have to go through something called CFIUS, which is the organization, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, that would sign off on something like this. And so CFIUS can be kind of tough, right? CFIUS can be kind of tough. And it's not always easy to get things through CFIUS. So what's interesting here is that the guy who ran this Uranium One company, Frank Giustra, I'm not saying that right, he was actually a major donor to the Clinton Foundation. I mean, he had given like $100 million to CGI-related initiatives. And so the fear was, or at least according to Peter's reporting, that this was somehow influencing the approval process. Now, the administration would say, no, it's a big committee, lots of people, it's not just Hillary. And so, no, it couldn't possibly have influenced things. There was another case in Kazakhstan. And it seemed like, how was Bill Clinton getting $750,000 a speech in places like Kazakhstan from the government, or $500,000 in Moscow? Was Moscow trying to buy influence with the Secretary of State? That's the question, okay? That is a fair question to be asking. And none of this was really fairly addressed ever. And I think with Dan and Cash in there, a lot of this is going to get looked at. I mean, $32 million commitment from Bahrain's Crown Prince to CGI. I mean, CGI is collecting. I mean, their wealth is somewhere around $130 million apparently right now. It comes from speaking engagements. Apparently, they don't draw a salary from CGI. But here's the thing. Like, if you have a charity like that and it's got all these hundreds of millions of dollars coming in, where does it go? Apparently to overhead. So they've raised billions, but none of this money is allegedly getting to the victims. So Haiti's a good example. Haiti, I mean, even the guy who was running Haiti at the time said that the people that needed the money were not actually getting the money. In fact, something like 10% of the funds that had been raised for Haiti actually made it. This is Charles Ortel, alleged that the money didn't reach the intended recipients. Only about 10% of the funds reportedly went to Haitian organizations, and the rest were funneled to foreign contractors or went to foundation overhead. This was after the 2010 earthquake. So what was going on? And is this in any way similar to what Hunter Biden was doing. I mean, it's like a big scale version of what Hunter Biden was doing, but she's Secretary of State. Like, why would she be? I mean, I know we can investigate the server thing and whatever. I mean, that is not as interesting to me as this. Because I want to know where the money is. The money trail is everything. You know me, I'm a business reporter, right? Quick shout out for our 76 research, because look at those portfolios. They've all been doing so well. American Resilience, Inflation Protection, Income Builder portfolios. Go check them out there at 76research.com.